Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Stroke Empowerment Sessions. My name is Letitia Living, and I am joined today by special guest, Lisa. Hi, Lisa. How are you going?
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. So good to chat with you.
You too. Thank you for meeting me here.
Welcome. So tell us where you're coming in from today.
I'm here in Cambodia, in Siem Reap, Cambodia. So a long
Awesome.
way away.
Yeah. And tell us about what type of stroke did you have and how old were you at the time?
Okay, 2018, which is almost 6 years now, which is amazing.
Mm.
I had a MCA stroke here in Cambodia, and so it was caused by endocarditis. Had an
Mhm.
infection in my heart, which I didn't know of. And then obviously went to the brain and that caused the stroke. Yeah. And then,
For
so
everyone who
yeah,
doesn't know, an MCA is a middle cerebral artery stroke.
yes, correct.
Cool.
Yes.
So let's go to who were you? Who was Lisa prior to the stroke? What were you doing? And
My
what did your
God.
life look like prior to you having?
A long way, long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Before I was here, I worked in the movie industries and I was a production manager. And I worked in, because I live in Sydney and I used to produce DVDs and Blu-rays in Australia and New Zealand. So I did that for about 12 years. And then when I left there, then I moved over to Cambodia. Then I started volunteering at first. And then I decided I wanted to live here permanently. So I went back to Australia, gave up everything, sold up all furniture, etc. And then came back here. And then I got a job teaching. So I now am a teacher here.
And um, so you were teaching, you just had like a busy job, and then you've decided to go traveling and soul searching, and you've found Cambodia, a place that you
Yes.
loved, and then life changed.
Yes. Big
Hmm.
life change. Yes, exactly. I was working when it happened here.
Hmm.
And I was at home first thing in the morning getting ready for work, as normal. Had my coffee just out on the balcony and luckily left my back door open when I had a shower and suddenly just engulfed with nausea and spinning. And I collapsed in the bathroom and I was on the floor for a few days until someone found me.
And did you know that a few days had passed?
No, I was in and out. I was unconscious. And then at one point, I remember hearing my phone was calling, like my phone was in the lounge room and I heard it and I tried to get up and then I was paralyzed. I had no idea what had happened. I couldn't get off the floor. So I tried to get up and then I collapsed again. And then I'd have no idea the timeline of in and out of consciousness. No idea until the couple of days. And then my neighbor came in and then said, "You're here, you're okay, we're getting the ambulance, blah, blah, blah." And then I realized something had happened, but I had all these people around me in the bathroom and trying to help me. But I had no idea what the timeline was. No idea.
So you had no idea that a few days had passed,
No, no idea.
and you're paralyzed and in the
I was
bathroom.
paralyzed. Yes,
Hmm.
yes. Yeah, not
And
pretty.
yeah, pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So what happened next? How did you get to hospital?
Okay, so luckily where I live, my landlord, she knew my routine because she knew every day what time I went to school and she hadn't seen me. And she was a very busy lady and she spoke to my neighbor. I had my balcony and then his balcony was right next to it. Like I said earlier, luckily I'd left the back balcony open. He'd been managed to jump over the balcony into mine and then come in to find me because she hadn't seen me. So she called him and said, "Have you seen Lisa?" And no one had seen me. So they went in to check because they knocked on the door apparently and then no one answered. And then so he jumped over the balcony and came in and found me on the floor. So then obviously they called the ambulance and they organized for me to go to hospital. So thank goodness.
Mm.
And
And
then,
you're in
yes,
Cambodia.
yes,
So you've got into a hospital in Cambodia. What was that
yeah.
like? What was that experience like?
Well, luckily for me, I had insurance. So I went to the international hospital. So it was, obviously a bit more expensive for foreigners. But I went to one here in Siem Reap first, and they were pretty good. And obviously they did all the scans and they realized it was a big problem. So I had to go to their sister hospital in Phnom Penh, which is the capital city. So then I had to go by a ambulance down to Phnom Penh, which is about 5 hours away down there. And then I had a craniectomy, so I had to have brain surgery in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in ICU down there for a couple of months. But they were fantastic. The nurses, the doctors were fantastic. My neurosurgeon was from Bangkok, so he was wonderful, did a brilliant job. And all the nurses were excellent. And my physio here, every day, they had got me doing exercises 2 hours a day, every day for a few months. And they got me walking because I was paralyzed. I was walking within about 10 days.
Wow.
Because they had me up and there was a gym in Phnom Penh. So I went to the gym every day for 2 hours. And finally I could walk, obviously not strongly, but I started walking again, thank God.
So the facilities and resources there were pretty good.
Amazing. Pretty amazing. Pretty
Yeah.
amazing, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
So
And then after the few months in ICU, then they flew me back home to Australia. So they went to a hospital in Australia for a month. And then I went to a rehab hospital in Australia as well for a few months. So probably it was about 4 months in total over the whole period. ICU, then Australia, and then rehab. So yes, the Australian hospital, not great, to be honest.
It's interesting, isn't it, that just our perception would be that in a developing country that the hospitals wouldn't be as great as a
no,
country like Australia.
unfortunately, yeah, not good. And luckily, because I had so many good the exercise in Cambodia, and I've been practicing, and my walking became quite strong by the time I flew back to Australia. And then when they put me in hospital there, they just stuck me in a bed and did nothing. So I did it myself. The nurses wouldn't allow me to do any exercises, and never came in and did anything. I had some really horrible nurses in that hospital. And they'd yell at me because I couldn't move my arm and because I couldn't put on my top. So not very nice people, not a very good experience. But they did nothing. So I was doing my own exercise in the hospital, the main hospital. But then once I went to rehab, that was a lot better. Thankfully, yes.
So you've been discharged out of rehab. Then were you in an outpatient rehab? Did you have to continue?
Yes, I went to live with my mum because I had nowhere to live, obviously. And I went to live with mum, and then I had outpatient physio, occupational therapy, and hydrotherapy. So all sorts of things as an outpatient as well. Every day I was doing some sort of therapy up there with my mum's. So I was there for 18 months for recovery before I came back here.
Well, that's just something interesting you just said then. So you've said, come back here. So you're in Cambodia?
Yes.
And you've had a major stroke and you're paralyzed on one side, and then you've come to Australia, you've gone through rehab, and now I've just heard you say, come back here. So tell us about that journey of going back to or coming back to Cambodia.
Straight from the beginning, once I knew what had happened to me, I really obviously did not want to leave Cambodia. I was devastated once was in ICU,
Mm-hmm.
and I was so upset once I had to leave there. And then I didn't want to leave Cambodia at all. But going back to Australia, I was like, no. And once I arrived back in Australia, in my mindset was I was determined I have to go back because that was my home now.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I am Australian, but my heart is here.
Yeah.
So I was determined through all of my therapists, all of my doctors. They say, what's your goal? So my goal is to come back here, be strong enough to come back here. So they were all very supportive, thankfully. No one said, no, that's a stupid idea. They were very, very supportive and did everything they could possibly to help me to get to that goal.
How long did it take you?
18 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then
That's
once I
quite
was
it.
strong enough, yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite long, quite a
It's
bit.
no, I'm thinking it's quite a journey. Like you would have had
Yeah.
to work really, really hard to get back to that point.
Yes. Very determined. Surprisingly, I was very surprised with myself to be so determined and go, yeah. But it was in my mind. I was like, no, nah, this is not going to kill me. I'm going to push, push, push. And this is where my heart is. I have to go back there. So I didn't have any other, I think mentally, I didn't really know what else I was going to do in Australia after having that because I didn't feel after the first hospital and the local government as well, like the getting benefits and things wasn't very supportive. And they're just
Mm-hmm.
pushing you to go back to work. It's like, well, what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not very supportive of brain injury. So it's like, well, I can go somewhere where they will be supportive and won't look down on someone that has a slight disability.
And you found that significant difference between how you're perceived from Australia to Cambodia?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Obviously, here, the Cambodians, they're very inquisitive. They always say, what's wrong with your hand? Because I still have a problem with my hand,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the only thing I have since the stroke. But they have always asked, what's wrong with your hand? It's fine because I'm so open to tell them about it. I had a problem with my brain. You have to explain that way.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, they're not going to go, well, you can't do that. You can't be working because you've got something wrong with your hand. They don't
Mm-hmm.
look at that at all. So, no, they're very good.
And I
Whereas
love something
Australians are very,
I know about your rehab and recovery journey. And because you keep smiling, it keeps popping into my mind. So tell everybody about the exercises you did with your
oh,
smiling.
yes. Because obviously, like you're probably, or most of us have, after having stroke, your face is dropped. Mine was dropped a lot. Because I was always smiling, always like my smile. And then once that was dropped, hated it, hated it. So in hospital, even in hospital first, and I would just stand in front of a mirror and I'd be stretching my mouth and citing the alphabet every day and then doing that. So to try and improve the muscles in my mouth. So I can still see it a little bit if I'm really tired. You can see it a little bit, but it's not too bad now.
And
So it's
how long do
improved a
you
lot.
think it took you to change that from the droop part to back to
Mm.
unnoticeable
Um,
anymore?
months, months,
Months?
months.
Months? Yeah.
Oh, look, many months. I do remember one day in my outpatient speech therapist, who was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I went to one of his sessions and I was so excited because he said, you've got dimples. And I went, what? And I was so excited because I actually you could see I had some dimples because because after the drooping, there was nothing. And then there was that one day, I was so excited. There was movement where it was many months though. So
And
let's
then
get
another
going.
thing that I love about your determination in your recovery is how you set yourself little goals
Yes.
to get there. So you want to tell us a little bit about how you did that and the things that you did for yourself, the goals that you set for yourself?
I think it's important for anyone that's in this situation, or this worked for me. I just like, for example, I wanted to study something. I was like, just do it in small chunks. Doesn't have to be overwhelm yourself by going, oh, I'm going to do this course that's going to take 10 years. Like it's going to be too much. So just do small little goals at first. And then once you achieve one, and then you congratulate yourself, take yourself out to a nice lunch or maybe go to the movies or something. Just celebrate those little small goals. So that's how I did it. And then you move on to the next one. Okay, now what am I going to do now? So each little one, I do it.
And your ones were huge because you went from being in ICU, paralyzed on one side, not being able to walk, to being a runner and running.
Yes. Yeah, that was my occupational therapist. It was the first session in my outpatient. And she said, what are your goals? And one was here, coming back here. And I said, do you know what? I've never been able to run. I want to be able to run. She just laughed. She thought it was hilarious. So we started doing, I still don't really run, but I just wanted to at least try and do it. I didn't have to be a really strong runner, but at least be able to do it. Because then, so we did like lots of exercises, embraced that. And then I went into a color run. It's probably about 10 months after. I think it was about 10 months. Then I did the color run in Sydney. So run a little bit. Most of it was walking, but at least I did it because that was one of my goals. Like, I want to do it. So, yeah.
You definitely sound like you're smashing some of those goals. And now you're back studying as well.
Yeah, started studying on Thursday. Yeah, this one's going to be a challenge. But yeah, I like to try and educate myself with different things. And obviously, this is still an ongoing. I'm hoping one day, obviously, I'm always trying to, my hand, it's not great, but I'm always doing exercises and trying to improve that. But then other things mentally and knowledge I like to do that I enjoy as well.
And what are those? What are some of those things that you enjoy?
Right now I'm learning how to speak the language here, which is very exciting, very hard, but yeah, it's going to be exciting. So I want to do that. So things like that. I've been doing a bit more travel just around this country. So I've gone back to traveling again, which is fantastic because I was always a big traveler before. So I traveled a lot around the world, and being here as well, being able to look around this beautiful country and see other areas on my own. So traveling alone again on buses and going to different areas of this country. So traveling is one of the big things I love.
Yeah, it's nice to have that independence
Oh,
and
absolutely.
that freedom to do that and be
Yes.
you.
Yes, exactly.
So, and tell us your experiences. It's incredible the way that you use and share your experience to help others who are going through this. So, what advice would you give to somebody who has experienced a stroke, is going through, um, the hemiparalysis to hemiparesis? What advice could you give to them?
I think one of the best thing, be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself down when you fail something. If you try, just keep picking yourself up and trying again. Don't say I'm hopeless, I'll never get there. Try and have that really positive mentality and be very positive and embrace the fact that you did something, you're doing it, and you're trying to. So I think that's important. And be very patient as well, because it's not going to happen overnight. You just have to hopefully have some determination. Things aren't going to happen right now, 5 minutes. So it will take some time. And just celebrate the fact that you're still alive and you can do these things. And it's not a death sentence. You can still do it.
Yeah,
That's the problem. I think a lot of people are a bit negative. They think, oh, that's it. My life's over. Try not to be that negative space.
Yeah, it can be hard when you're going through it,
Oh,
and
of course.
because that's what you're experiencing right now. And
Mm,
which is why I love having these conversations so that you can
mm,
come on and you can share. Well, you know what, I was
yeah.
there too. And I love your advice that you've given with the determination just to keep pushing through,
Mm,
kind to yourself, and most of all, be patient.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And if there are other people out there, if they're going into therapy, and if you make sure you've got a therapist that you really trust and that you love, because you won't get anywhere if you don't like them. Because I had one I didn't like, and now I didn't get anywhere with that woman. But once I got one that was amazing, like my progress went up. So luckily, so you have to step up and just say something. I don't like that therapist. It's not working for me. So there's nothing wrong with that. So you have to have someone that's good for you, because it's all about you and your body.
Yeah, so it's it's vital to advocate for
Mm,
yourself. If you feel that things
absolutely.
aren't working out, then please speak
Mm,
out.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are some. The one I had, she was very negative, and I didn't. And then she went away. She was only there for maybe a week or two. This was in rehab, and then she went overseas, been very negative, and then wrote a very negative report about me. They gave on to my outpatient therapist. And it's like, really? She wasn't even here.
Mhm.
So like, so I didn't like that at all. But then once I got one in my outpatient, he was amazing. And I love going to his every day. It was like my outing. I'm going to out to therapy today. It was just fun. We'd laugh and have a good time. So it was fantastic.
And that makes all the difference.
Oh, it's huge, huge. There's nothing wrong with telling someone you don't like your therapist or your doctor, because it's you. It's all about you. You've got to look after yourself. No one else is going to do it for you.
Yeah, true.
Mm.
So, is there anything before we go? Is there anything that you would like to add? Any experiences that you've had? Any alternative therapies that you've used, or any advice, any extra advice that you would like to give?
Mm. I did hydrotherapy. If anyone can
Mhm.
swim or like going in the water, I found that fantastic, especially with my sublux shoulder. And then that helped a lot with movement of my arm. And that was really relaxing. And then getting in the water, because you can do more things in water than you can on the land as well. I think hydrotherapy is fantastic. That worked for me. So I think
And a little
everyone should
less
give that a go.
painful in the water.
Oh, absolutely. Because you can float on the water. And that's when the movement in my shoulder started working a lot better. I was able to swing my arm. And before that, on land, I couldn't do it. And then once I got in the water, it's amazing. So I think that's a good therapy to go to. That's one I did. But overall, my therapy, occupational therapy was fantastic. Speech therapy was fantastic, although the second one,
Mhm.
fantastic. Yeah. So all of the therapists I had, I love therapy. Like I said before, as long as you've got a therapist that you love and you trust, then it's fantastic. I loved it. It wasn't like a big chore. Oh, I've got to go to therapy.
Mhm.
I loved it. It's exciting to get okay, today I'm going to therapy. And I hated the end of the session. It's like, really? It's over already. So again, back to you have to trust and like your therapist. They will help you to progress a lot further, I think.
Such wise words there.
Okay.
Well, thank you for coming on today. You have shared some absolute valuable advice to give to others who are starting out or on the already on their post-stroke journey, that things can always improve, and that where you are now doesn't determine where you are going to be in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And keep it up, everyone. Don't put yourself down. Be kind, and you'll get there. Be patient as well.
Love that. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Lisa.
Thank you so much.